underway from the launch of the Orbiting Carbon Observatory 2 spacecraft, also called OCO-2. This is NASA's first mission dedicated to studying atmospheric carbon dioxide, the leading human-produced greenhouse gas driving changes in Earth's climate. OCO-2 will provide a new tool for understanding the human and natural sources of carbon dioxide emissions and the so-called natural sinks that absorb carbon dioxide and help control its buildup in the atmosphere. The observatory will measure the global geographic distribution of these sources and study their changes over time. The OCO-2 spacecraft's final circular polar orbit will be 438 nautical miles above the Earth at an inclination of 98.2 degrees. It will be circling the Earth every 99 minutes. OCO-2 will separate from the Delta II rocket 56 minutes 15 seconds after liftoff. At this time, preparations are underway for loading the Delta II rocket with liquid oxygen. The countdown activities began on schedule and have been proceeding normally. This will be the 152nd Delta II launch for United Launch Alliance and NASA's 51st on a Delta II. NASA's first Delta launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base was on October 2nd, 1966 for the TOS-A mission. We'll be getting a weather briefing shortly. At this time, weather is still very favorable for a launch overnight, and we're not working any issues or concerns at this point in the launch countdown. At T-minus 1 hour, 38 minutes, 47 seconds and counting, this is Delta Launch Control. It's 1 hour, 36 minutes and counting. In just a moment or so, we'll have a weather briefing from our launch weather officer, Lieutenant Joseph Round, who will give us the forecast conditions for the launch this morning and the chances for a successful launch today in terms of our launch weather criteria. So that's coming up just momentarily from the launch weather officer, who will be briefing the launch director and the launch team. We're at T-minus 1 hour, 35 minutes, 28 seconds and counting. This is Delta Launch Control.
Weather briefing. All stations acknowledge. LO.
LO.
CMFCO.
CMFCO.
Delta RC.
Delta RC.
LD.
LD.
NLM.
NLM.
OD.
OD.
LDA.
LDA.
L will provide current and predicted T0 status for safety and launch agency constraints with probabilities of violation.
This is the LO. This briefing will be displayed on CCTV's Channel 7 and 8. Beginning on Channel 8, current satellite loop shows the marine layer creeping in over the range, but clear above. Moving to radar, you see a lot of ground clutter on there, but no significant returns. And looking at the tower data, we've been seeing winds from mostly northerly direction at about 6 to 9 knots for Tower 1 of. Turning to Channel 8, there are no watches, warnings, or advisories in effect at this time. All range safety launch commit criteria are green, the 0% probability of violation for T-minus 0 and for 24-hour scrub forecast. Launch agency constraints are also green, with the 0% POV for T-minus 0 and the 24-hour scrub forecast, and proton flux is currently at background levels. The exposure forecast, we're seeing visibility down to 1 to 3 statute miles. Again, winds are from a northerly direction, 330 to 360 at 6 to 10 knots, but again, nothing that's violating any constraints. For the launch forecast, we'll see the visibility drop slightly to 1 to 2 statute miles in fog, and the wind should taper down to about 4 to 7 knots, but again, nothing violating constraints. So the overall probability of violation is 0% with no constraints of concern. Moving into the 24-hour scrub forecast, as the marine layer moves down a little lower, the visibility decreased to a half mile to 1.5 mile in fog. Winds will pick up a little bit from the northwesterly direction, about 8 to 12 knots, but nowhere near our 29 to 31 knot constraint, and 0% POV, with no areas of concern for the 24-hour scrub forecast. And this concludes my brief.
Senior MIFCO, proceed with latest debris assessment.
Senior MIFCO, we've received the initial debris assessment as green. This will be the final assessment for the launch.
LO and Senior MIFCO indicate clear to proceed. All stations report questions or acknowledge. LO.
LO.
Senior MIFCO.
Senior MIFCO.
Delta RC.
Hello, this is Delta RC. Last night we talked a little bit about drizzle.
Window this morning is just 21 seconds earlier than it was yesterday. It will open at 2:56:23 a.m. It's 30 seconds in duration and will close at 2:56:53. Earlier this afternoon, we did once again get some video of the mobile service tower being moved back from around the rocket. These are the preparations for the rollback, and now we can see the tower moving. The Delta II, as we see it there, is 128 feet tall. It's 8 feet wide with a 10-foot fairing. It has 3 solid rocket boosters. And at liftoff, it will weigh 330,000 pounds with the OCO-2 spacecraft atop. And this is a time lapse of the rollback of the service tower earlier this afternoon. Next activity is going to be the preparations for loading the liquid oxygen on board the Delta first stage. And then the launch conductor will poll the overall United Launch Alliance and NASA teams for readiness for cryogenic tanking.
Okay guys, it's Spots 1925 here watching the launch of the OCO-2 aboard the Delta II rocket in the 3 SRB config. I was actually watching this yesterday, but they scrubbed the launch and they're going to launch it now, like today.
Attention stations on NLM net. This is NLM. I would like to conduct the ready for cryo tanking poll. Currently, we just received a weather briefing. Very favorable weather for launch today. Currently tracking no issues, and the range is currently tracking no issues. So with that, I would like to conduct the poll beginning with NASA CE.